Do not get an e-bike without these features. At this point, I've probably tested and reviewed over 45 different e-bikes, and after doing that, I feel like I've come to the consensus that I have top features that I feel like should be a baseline in any e-bike that you purchase, and I want to share those features with you. Now keep in mind, the way that I ride is very leisurely and kind of commuter styled around my neighborhood. I have gravel roads, paved roads, some hills, some flat spots, and I typically go on 30-mile rides. So if you're like an extreme mountain biker, then maybe some of these features might not apply to you, but I feel like for the majority of people, these features are a must-have. And before I share them, I want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Upway. If you want to buy an e-bike like the ones in this video, the Aventon or the 10-ways, but you want to keep it budget friendly, then check out upway.co, where you can have high quality, brand new or certified e-bikes at unbeatable prices. They've got all the top tier brands just like the ones you're checking out in this video. At Upway, they take quality very seriously. Every e-bike goes through a 50-point inspection by their expert mechanics in Brooklyn, New York, and you'll get the same top performance and reliability as a new bike without the hefty price tag. It's a savvy choice for anyone looking to go green without overspending. Every e-bike comes with a 1-year warranty, and they also have quick delivery across the US within a week with a 99% assembled option or an 85% assembled option if you prefer to save more money. And not only that, if you have an e-bike that you're thinking of selling, Upway makes it simple. Just take 3 minutes to fill out their online form and they will handle the rest, including free pickup. So if this sounds interesting to you, then check out Upway. I'll put a link in the description below. Thank you, Upway, for sponsoring this video. Okay, you might not agree with me, but here are the top features that I feel like are a must-have in any e-bike. They're not in any particular order, by the way. The first feature is a trigger shifter. I like these better than the thumb shifters. They're easier to operate, and they just feel really smooth to use, especially if you're changing speeds a lot. I feel like having a trigger shifter is really nice. The second feature is having good resistance at fast speeds, and this really comes down to the amount of teeth in the flywheel that will provide you more resistance at those faster speeds. And I feel like this is crucial for e-bikes because they typically go anywhere from like 10 to 28 miles an hour when you take them out for a ride. And so if you're traveling at those faster speeds, you don't want your feet to just be rapidly swinging around, feeling like you're pedaling air, which sometimes happens on cheaper e-bikes, so make sure you get enough resistance at those faster speeds and it'll improve the ride quality tremendously. The third must-have feature is hydraulic brakes. I just like them way better than mechanical brakes. They're so much easier to squeeze, and I feel like they stop the e-bike so much more smoothly, especially if you're traveling at those faster speeds. It's nice to be able to stop abruptly and smoothly. Another good thing to have is a responsive, strong motor. The worst thing is when you start pedaling an e-bike and then there's like a 5-second delay from when the motor actually engages and gives you assistance. That just feels super unnatural. So if your e-bike has a lag in it, that's not good. I don't like it. And then the reason that I say you should have a strong motor instead of an exact wattage, like a 750 watt motor, is because I feel like I've tested out e-bikes. Both have a 750 watt motor, but one of them flies me up a hill no problem at all. And then the other one is like difficult, slowly getting up the hill. So get an e-bike with a responsive, strong motor. And also, just a side note, when I'm talking about the responsiveness of your e-bike, I don't necessarily mean the difference between a torque or a cadence sensor. I feel like either one of those are great to have in an e-bike. I don't feel like I have a personal preference of which one is better. I feel like it comes down to your personal opinion. So when I say responsive, it just means how much of a delay is there from when you're pedaling to when the motor engages, not necessarily the difference between like a torque sensor versus a cadence sensor. Another great feature to have is a UL certified battery. This just makes me sleep better at night, knowing that I have a UL certified battery. I don't have to worry about some cheap Chinese battery that's going to blow up in my house and catch one of my rooms on fire. So I feel like having a UL certified battery is just better. And then also it's nice if you have a longer range battery. I typically feel comfortable if my battery gets me anywhere from like 25 to 35 miles on one charge. That's typically about the distance that I'll go on one ride. So that feels really good. But you have to look at actual tests of this because when they advertise their range, it's going to be way higher. That's like in optimal conditions. So if it gets you real world scenario, getting you 35 miles on one charge, then that's pretty good. I love that for how I ride. So those features right there are like must-haves. I don't think you should get an e-bike without any of those things that I mentioned. That's like the baseline, but I do also want to share with you some bonus features that I feel like aren't necessarily a must-have, but they're still really nice to have if your e-bike includes them. The first bonus feature that I feel like is a nice touch is when your e-bike has a rear rack. This is super nice for carrying stuff, and it's an additional bonus feature if the rear rack is actually integrated into the frame, because a lot of times it'll have a higher weight capacity. So if you ever need to haul stuff or carry something, it's nice to have a rear rack. The next bonus feature is when your e-bike has integrated lights. Now this really only applies if you're riding at dusk or at nighttime, but I think it's just a nice touch because I find myself a lot of times riding this at like the dusk hours in the summer. And so both the Aventon and the Tenways have front headlights and tail lights. And another like improvement is if your tail light shines brighter when you squeeze the brakes, that's a plus. And then it's also a plus if your e-bike has turn signals, which both of these e-bikes do. They both come with blinkers. Another good thing to have is fenders. This keeps the bike a lot cleaner. It also keeps you a lot cleaner. And another good feature to have is also suspension. This just really smooths out the ride, especially for the area that I ride in. We have a lot of cracks in our sidewalks and our pavement here in Michigan, and I ride on gravel roads a lot of times. So having suspension really helps to smooth out the ride. But this really depends on where you live and what environment you ride in, because if you're like an avid cyclist riding road bikes, you probably don't care about suspension, but for me, I enjoy it. Another nice bonus feature is if your e-bike has good water resistance. So usually a rating of IPX4 or better is what I enjoy. That way you can ride your e-bike out in the rain and it's gonna be okay. Or if you wanna spray it down with a hose, then having an IPX rating of like IPX6 is a really nice touch, but that's, again, probably just for those people who want to ride their e-bike out in the rain or get it wet. But if that's not you, then this feature probably isn't that important. Another small bonus feature is when your e-bike has good ergonomics. Now this really depends on you and how you like to ride, but if your e-bike doesn't fit you comfortably, if the handlebars are too high, if they're too low, if they're not swept back and you want them to be swept back, or if you want them to be mountain bike style, like if it doesn't fit you appropriately, you're not going to enjoy taking it out as much. So getting something that fits you properly, I feel like will make your riding experience so much more enjoyable. The last, biggest, best bonus feature that you could get is if your e-bike has all the features that I mentioned in this video, but it still comes in at an affordable price. Now this is really hard for a lot of e-bike companies to do, because when you reduce the price, you also start reducing the quality of the e-bike. This is why a lot of cheap e-bikes are cheap, because they don't have a good motor on them, the battery life isn't that great, maybe they don't have a rear rack. Things like that will definitely reduce the price of the e-bike, but then it also reduces the quality. But this is why I feel like Upway is the perfect sponsor for this video, because you can still get a nice quality e-bike like this Tenways one or this Aventon one for a more affordable price. So you can still get all the nice features that this comes with, but just save yourself some money. So there it is. Check them out. I'll put a link in the description below to this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your must-have features are in your e-bike. And there it is. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.